Hello, and welcome to Data for All, a quest for digital autonomy, a podcast in which we bring you closer to the topic of municipal data sovereignty. This season of the podcast revolves around sustainable data solutions for citizens and companies. Looking at situations across Europe, we present facts, approaches, and reflections on how we can better understand and use data for the public good.
Data for All. A quest for digital autonomy. A podcast from the Heinrich-Böll Foundation, Schleswig-Holstein.
Hey Dilara, hey Martin. First of all, welcome to the Data for All podcast. Nice that you have taken the time to talk to me here today. A warm welcome to you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, before we really get started, we've already got to know each other. Would you like to briefly introduce yourselves? Who are you and what do you do in your work?
I guess I'll start. I'm a project manager for team regional development and smart city, smart regions at Aconium. And yeah, I have the pleasure of working with some Interreg projects and regional development projects. And yeah.
And also me, I'm also part of the Smart City, Smart Regions team at Aconium for a while now. I've been in a couple of different Interreg projects and just to have the modest goal of increasing the livability of citizens through smart city solutions. And that's mainly our goal.
Yeah, we're going to come to that topic within the conversation. So, smart city, that's our topic for this episode, and we can certainly go into all sorts of detail about what constitutes a smart city, which sub-areas it includes. But let's start with a very general question. What is a smart city?
Well, generally, to me, it's a term that has shifted. I think the initial idea was that, again, a modest idea to increase or make the lives of all citizens within an urban area or non-urban area, or region, just better, to increase the livability of the region and in many certain fields. And through digitalization or through technology, where it makes sense. I think this is the basic idea of a smart city. Smart as in having the city connected as a brain itself. That would be in several different aspects. I think this is the modest goal of a smart city from my point of view.
Yeah, I agree. I think a smart city, the concept started from capitalization of technologies in cities. So that's where the smart city concept is coming from. But I agree that the key point or the focus point has shifted to it being more about the humans in the cities, because of course cities are lived in and can only be smart if the humans are smart. So
yeah, totally. We're going to come to the people side in a second. So a smart city, that sounds partly, the term sounds like a futuristic city that is completely digital. I somehow, when we talked about that, have like autonomous rail systems in my head and so on. A friend once said that he imagines a smart city like something like Star Wars. Everything is digital and you see all the screens and everything. But what does it really look like? Are there already smart cities in Germany, and what do they look like?
So I hope, I'm also a Star Wars fan. It won't be as in Star Wars. There are, of course, some few examples in Germany that have actually started some smart city oriented projects. But it's hard to say when a city has actually or can actually call itself a smart city. A smart city is not something that a point that is reached and then everyone lives in a smart city, but it's an ongoing process. So you have to start somewhere, and this is mainly the case in bigger cities, where it has been the case. But now, of course, it has shifted to smaller communities, smaller rural regions also. But the bigger cities had the opportunity to actually implement technology in a test field of several projects. So, for example, in the project of a data solution or data-driven mobility enhancement, or just having to break up data silos, for example. Or also another goal is to enhance citizen participation. on several municipal projects. And there are a few, I think, interesting projects coming from Hamburg, for example, and Darmstadt is also quite interesting because it's not really on the map of many people in Germany, but they are really foregoing the topic of to implement the term smart, or to actually live the term smart.
I think what you mentioned with Star Wars, that's more of a utopian city. I would go away from that. But if we see smart city as an umbrella term for different processes or making processes smarter, then yes, there are some smart cities or like smarter ways of living in Germany. I would agree. And I think smart city and also making processes smarter is also about realizing that this utopian vision of Star Wars or Back to the Future is also always mentioned as an example. There are just futuristic versions, and to get there, you have to start with these smarter ways of living. So as Martin mentioned, some examples from Germany, like Darmstadt, they can just show that you have to start small and you have to start really far away from this utopian vision to get to this smart way of living.
It's interesting when you talk to someone who is not involved in a smart city, like just some friends of mine living in Hamburg, for example, and I ask them, do you know that Hamburg has been on top one, or Munich, for example, as on the ranking of the smartest city in Germany, for example? And this is where a true smart city actually is a smart city, when people from in their everyday life can actually benefit from it, and they see that something has changed. And to be honest, that has not been the case quite yet in Germany, but I think we're going there.
Yeah, as you already mentioned, it takes time. And I mean, we could also discuss whether we want to live in a Star Wars world, but it's not going to happen in the near future. I mean,
I wouldn't say no to lightsabers, actually, but
fair point. Fair point. I mean, if a city, for example, decides to become a smart city, it's not going to happen overnight. What are the challenges of a smart city, and how can they be solved during that process?
So as a basic ground, because we're still referring to the term of smart city with technology, I think we should have the basis to actually implement technology. And this can be done in several use cases, in several fields. Like a smart city should actually see where already ongoing processes are and how technology can enhance this. It can also be a part of participants, or like people who really are active in their city in different fields, have quite the social skills, etc. And this is where technology can actually enhance this. But mainly, of course, because we're dealing with technology, a basic ground has to be implemented for everything to grow from this. And what we're experiencing is definitely in the field of data, that there's some groundwork to be done for every community, for every municipality. It doesn't matter of what size, but this is like basic work.
Yeah, I mean, you've already mentioned the data. So when it comes to a smart city, what data are we actually talking about? What data is needed for a smart city?
To quote another really good film, Leon the Professional, I think this is the scene where Gary Oldman said everything. But I don't know if you actually know this scene. But generally, yes, depends on actually what you want to accomplish and what your use case is on, because you have to start somewhere. You cannot just aim for everything, but it could go there, but step by step, of course. And if you start with a project mainly on, for example, mobility data, this is a use case that includes several other data sources or related data to other fields. So this could be a very interesting topic, for example, traffic flow optimization on a certain street, just to start small. And this could be scaled up to the city or to a bigger picture.
I think adding on to that, as Martin said, everything is data. And one point of a smart city, or what I experienced working with some people working with smart cities, is that a lot of people do not actually realize what data they have. So yes, what data is needed. And I think people ask themselves the same question without even realizing what data is already being collected every day, or what data could be collected every day, to come to this point of having a smart solution implemented, or having traffic flow be adjusted or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a key point of it all.
And just to gather data, etc., doesn't make a city smart. It's the way you handle it and everything that comes with it. So this is the smart that actually humans have to engage with. It's not only smart technology, but it also have to be smart processes.
Totally. I mean, this totally adds up to other episodes that we talked about that also existing data is already there, but the way we use it should be the main focus. And Dilara also said that the concept of smart cities has shifted nowadays towards the people. A city is always primarily there for the people, and a smart city should primarily benefit for the citizens and simplify their lives. Martin, you always also said that a friend of yours is living in Hamburg. So just imagine we are living in a totally smart city now. And what are the things that would make my life as a citizen much easier, and where I would like directly experience an effect of a smart city?
I have an example from my recent trip to South Korea, and from what I would call like a very good practice of a smart solution in Seoul. And it's about mobility. And it was actually such a small thing. It is a mobility app there. They don't have Google Maps. They use their own version. It's called Naver Maps. And on Naver, it shows you if you want to go from point A to B, it shows you exactly where you should stand and which door you should enter the train to leave the train station more fastly. And then also shows you which exit you should take. And the exits are also shown on different signs. And you would say, okay, yeah, well, what benefit do you have? But in rush hour to know, okay, I have to stand in this door to leave in this exit and be out of this train station within 1 minute instead of being pushed between people and having to walk to my way. I think that's a small benefit that this smart solution could give you in everyday life. And I think that's also where most smart city solutions should start, to have these small benefits. And these small benefits are adding up and are just making your everyday life a little bit simpler.
As I said, traffic or mobility is quite a prominent case. I think where citizens actually can really benefit from is digital services for citizens in regard with, for example, your ID or like access to have an online appointment somewhere. This is really basic groundwork. But if you go outside, as I said, traffic could be the first topic, but could be also trash or like the status of your trash and when it actually makes sense for the trash collectors to come by, like enhancing their route to make it more easier for them to plan. There could be so many different things. You have to pick one direction, one topic. Yeah.
Maybe to summarize it all, it's transparency and generating knowledge from these data that we talked about before. And by doing that, I mean, this transparency is exactly what, like all these smart solutions that Martin mentioned. It's about knowing when my trash will be collected. It's about knowing where I should exit. It's about knowing and seeing. And I think, yeah, this transparency aspect is a big, big, big thing, a big plus that a smart city can deliver to its citizens.
I just love it that you mentioned like so tiny examples which make lives in a way easier and that are not, I mean, you don't have to change the whole system in a way. You can start with the small things. And I think that's totally doable for cities. And you're not changing your city overnight to become a small city, but you have to start small. And that's involving. And I mean, you've already mentioned the mobility sectors. For a smart city, you have so many institutions, so many players involved. How does the cooperation of those institutions work? And how important is it that those institutions, organizations, politics work together?
It has to be to actually be in the position to make a decision. So everyone has to be on board. Everyone should have like a common strategy how to reach those goals. Some of the first steps towards a smart city is how to make a strategy to pinpoint where you want to focus on which topics and how to get there. And with the first, we call it small hanging fruits, something that you can just pick and actually have quite easy access to or to see development quite fast.
I think also this cooperation between different institutions is a key point and something which is also a key challenge to smart cities, especially in Germany. I mean, we have that saying, Kirchturmdenken in Germany. And I think it's a key problem of why smart cities in Germany maybe don't progress as fast as other examples. It's that thinking that everyone only looks at their own church tower and their own little domain and wants to stay within that domain. But a smart city and a connected city requires breaking up these silos and breaking up these existing locks, which are keeping people from working together, or institutions from working together, companies, universities, other groups. And so, yeah, it's a strength if it happens, because of course everyone has different knowledge, everyone has a different expertise, and everyone has access to different data if we're coming back to it. But it's also a big hurdle.
Now we've talked a lot about smart cities, but cities are not, I mean, of course, not the only place where people live. I mean, the city is surrounded by more rural areas. So what about smart regions? Is there such a thing? And what is the connection to smart cities?
Well, generally, it's the term smart just put into the aspects of regional challenges. So, as you said, rural challenges are, of course, many different from urban challenges, but they face not completely different challenges, but also like participantship or mobility could be like same use cases addressed in a smart city or in a smart region. But generally, the field or the scope of a region, of course, is quite maybe bigger and different than a smart city is.
Again, the concept started in a city, but realizing that people live outside the city and beyond the city borders is important. And I would say that regions and rural areas do have different problems. I mean, it's about demographic shifts. It's about not having enough money. It's about not having enough people to work. And it's especially a big problem in Germany, and something that we are already facing and will be facing more in the future. So having smart regions as a concept evolve from the smart city thinking and also involve more rural areas and their problems, I think that's a way to start attacking these problems, because we won't have maybe the people, the way of living right now, the way of working right now in rural areas won't be possible without the humans or without the workers. And we already see the shift happening. So if we have smarter ways of doing things, then maybe not as many workers are needed in these areas. It could change some things. Erleichtern. Make it easier.
Yeah, totally. I mean, within the Data for All progress, we're always somehow also talking about data sovereignty and data independence. So, for example, if you now look at the current global situation, many people are becoming increasingly aware of how valuable data is on the one hand, but also how vulnerable we make ourselves with the disclosure of data on the other. So, I mean, the best example maybe is perhaps Elon Musk with X and all what comes with data when it comes to this. So the need for independence in the data sector is growing ever stronger. So to what extent can a smart city maybe contribute to independence and data sovereignty?
Well, that's a big question. It's a big question because it addresses several aspects. First, data sovereignty and data management. You gave the example of X, especially Elon Musk, who operates in the United States, where they have different aspects regarding data security or data ownership, for example, in comparison to the EU. So we have data protection, general data protection. Everyone has to, everyone in all firms, every company, every enterprise, all citizens have this basic playground or room for action. And how a smart city can enhance data sovereignty is actually to address this topic publicly and to enhance knowledge on this and to give people not a wrong perception of what the data is actually and how this will be processed and what they can do with their data. Because everyone thinks, especially in Germany, data is this is part of themselves, and they don't want anyone else to actually handle themselves. So especially in Germany, I think we need to talk about again what actually data is, and to draw the line between, of course, sensitive data, open data, big data, etc. Because everyone just puts data maybe into one big pot, and so we have to differentiate.
We'll get back to the interview shortly, but first a quick break for this episode's Infobox. Smart cities are often seen as a solution to many of the challenges facing urban areas, but they also come with risks. If personal data, such as movement profiles or user behavior, is collected without proper oversight, it can lead to surveillance rather than improvement. Without clear rules, citizens may lack an understanding of what data is being collected and how it is being used. At the same time, there's a risk that technological solutions may replace participation or exclude those who struggle to keep up digitally, such as the elderly. A truly smart city, therefore, needs more than just sensors and apps. It requires transparency, data protection, and meaningful participation. Only then can technological innovation lead to genuine social progress. And with that, back to the conversation.
It goes back to the transparency aspect, which I've mentioned before. If we as citizens know what data is being collected and where it is collected and what for it is collected, only then we can really secure it or be sure where it is. I think a bigger problem would be having data collected. I mean, data is always being collected without knowing data is being collected every day. And smart cities can help with this data sovereignty by offering transparency of where it is collected and what for it is collected. This is how smart cities can leverage their benefits, by being transparent and empowering citizens, really.
So I think you're referring to the aspect of inclusion. So there should be actions between the administration and citizens, because it shouldn't be only on one level. There should be an interchange between different aspects of the city, different layers of the city. I think this is where the term smart actually comes to power.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, it makes total sense that it's also connected to transparency. And we also had an episode about data transparency, which is totally in line with what you're saying. I mean, I just take with me today that a smart city doesn't come overnight as well. And Dilara, you mentioned the example of the subway in South Korea. And for me, it makes total sense to start with the small things and which benefits the life of the citizens. And yeah, I mean, thank you very much for this super interesting talk and for bringing smart cities to the people and bringing the concept of smart cities to the people. And yeah, maybe also explaining that a smart city is not totally like the Star Wars future that we imagine, but it starts with the very small things. Thank you, Dilara, and thank you, Martin.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
And that was all for this episode. If you'd like to hear more, subscribe to Data for All, a quest for digital autonomy in the podcast app of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud. And for any questions or suggestions, you can write to us at dataforall@boell-sh.de. The link is in the show notes.
Data for All. A quest for digital autonomy. A podcast from the Heinrich-Böll-Stiftung, Schleswig-Holstein.